Okay, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy May 1st. In fact, wow, off to a whole new month. And welcome to Fearless. Fearless is a production of Fuel. If you're not familiar with Fuel, I encourage you to check it out, myfuel.io. And where we've got a faculty of phenomenal people, Hall of Fame speakers. Mission is to bring applied learning, accelerated learning to you. So you're not just learning from memory, but you're learning from mastery by actually applying it. So some great courses. I've got 3 of those courses. Encourage you to check those out. One's called Beyond Doubt, Moving Beyond Fear and Doubt. And another one's called Creative Problem Solving. We all have problems to solve. What can we do to solve those problems with more creativity? And then one on leading with wisdom, deep, sagacious wisdom, if you will. So check those courses out. You can also check out my AI bot, which means I now have a bot that's loaded with 40 years of my work, hundreds of articles, hundreds of interviews, 20 books, and you can interact 24/7 with my AI bot, asking for coaching, asking for questions and direction and guidance. So it's a phenomenal application, and again, it's available 24/7, and pretty soon it's going to be able to speak to you in multiple languages. So take a look at that. I'm also developing a mastery lab where you can role play with my bot and really learn to apply the lessons and the tools that I teach. So today's episode is my journey through fear. My journey through fear, because I'll tell you something. I can't imagine being where I am right now if I let fear get in my way. I'm sitting in Miami Beach, living on not Miami Beach, Palm Beach, excuse me. I'm on Palm Beach, living just a phenomenal life, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, professionally, and socially, surrounded by just some great people. So I'm going to talk about those 7 factors in just a little bit. But how did I get here? What was my journey like? I heard John Maxwell speak recently, and John said that a young man came up to him at one of his talks, and he said, "I want to do what you do." And John's answer was, "Well, if you want to do what I do, you got to be willing to do what I did. You got to do the did to do the do, so to speak." And that really resonated with me because I remember sitting in an audience almost 40 years ago, listening to a guy named Tom Peters speak, a best-selling author, an international figure. And I remember sitting there saying to myself, I want to do that. So I had a vision of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an international speaker. I wanted to be a best-selling author. I wanted to help people all over the world uh, improve their lives, improve themselves. And I wanted to teach, but I didn't want to teach through a university or a school. I wanted my own journey. So I'm going to take you back. Actually, I'm going to take you back almost 66 years ago. My birthday's later this month, and I'll be 66. And right from there, chapter 1. I'm born on Friday the 13th. My last name is Murphy, as in Murphy's Law. Anything can go wrong, it will, at the worst possible moment. And I went through an early upbringing, learning in church every week that I'm not worthy. It's a mantra, if you will, in the Catholic Church. I'm not worthy. And I was trained to fear God. I was trained to think that I was a sinner, that there was something wrong with me. I was trained to feel guilty, and I was trained to suffer. If you really want to make it to heaven, you have to be willing to suffer. And that was my programming right from the start. That essentially, wow, I don't know what to do with all that. And this is an important statistic, something to know, and that is that most of our subconscious programming, this is the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton and other scientists, most of our subconscious programming, our habitual thinking, our autopilot is downloaded into us by the age of 6. So we're carrying around these programs throughout our entire lives until we identify what's going on in that subconscious mind, and we can find the delete button and delete those viruses, if you will, of the mind. So now, age 2, what's going on at age 2? I almost died twice. Once I was playing with my older sister, my older brother, and on the second floor, a bedroom of the house, and I went right out the window, right through the screen, and landed in the front yard. My father had to run out there in his whitey tighties, shaving cream all over his face, pull me out of the bushes. Meanwhile, my mother's coming home from church, and she sees this going on. It's just like, that's John. That's John. The second time was I decided I wasn't feeling well. Climbed out of my crib, climbed up onto the bathroom sink, got a bottle of aspirin, and ate it. And fortunately, I didn't go back to sleep. Um, I didn't feel well. My mother found this white powder all over my face. Figured out that it was aspirin, and it rushed me to the emergency room and had pumped my stomach. So now here I am, a kid with these programs being developed, very accident prone. I've had hundreds of stitches and multiple broken bones, and surgeries, things like that. And this started to really carry me through life to the point where I was very doubtful. I was doubtful, but I'd dust myself off and get back on the horse, so to speak, and continue going. So I make it into high school. Here's another chapter. And in high school, I loved sports. You know, I was a junior Olympic swimmer. I was a pretty gifted athlete. And my two favorite sports besides swimming were basketball and football, particularly football. So here I am. I'm going out for the football team. As a freshman, I'm playing on the football team. And before my sophomore year, and I was the starting quarterback, um, I'm diagnosed with a hernia. Now, back then, over 40 years ago, it's not a quick, outpatient surgery. It is. I was in the hospital for 6 days, and a huge scar, and the doctor said you can't play football this year. You'd be putting yourself at serious risk. So here you go. I'm benched for the whole year, a pivotal developmental year. But I bounced back, and my junior year, we actually win the state championship in Michigan in what used to be the Pontiac Silverdome, which is where the Detroit Lions were playing at that time. And I'm elected captain for my senior year. And guess what? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm running businesses. I've got a lawn crew business going on. And I'm out there, and I run my foot through a lawnmower, and just huge mess. So now I'm back in the emergency room. I'm in the hospital for a week, 10 hours, multiple surgeries. And the doctor tells me, that's it. You're never playing football again. Matter of fact, you'll be lucky to walk without limping for the rest of your life. Now you can just imagine the devastation of that news. Here's my dream, and it's shattered. It's shattered. Now here's the point, and this is an important takeaway. Did I choose to believe the doctor who said that? Because if I did, I wouldn't have been playing at Notre Dame 2 years later, earning my letter as a walk-on. He said I would be lucky to walk, and I walk on the Notre Dame football team. That took a little courage. It was one of the scariest moments in my life, honestly. I was encouraged actually by Rusty Lish, who was the starting quarterback right after Joe Montana, and he said, you belong on this team, because we were just out throwing the football one day, and he's like, what? Why aren't you on the team? And I explained the foot situation. He goes, I'm going to get you an interview with Dan Devine, the head coach. We're gonna get you on this team. And I think it was out of 25, 30 people who tried out, myself and one other guy made the team. And what was kind of cool about this, I was never a starter at Notre Dame, but every week myself and another quarterback, Jimmy O'Hara, played the opposing quarterbacks for that week. So I'm playing Jim Kelly, Hall of Fame football player, with the Buffalo Bills after his playing the University of Miami. I'm playing Dan Marino, who was at University of Pitt when we were playing Pitt. Went on to have a great Hall of Fame career with the Miami Dolphins. I'm actually playing these guys against our starting defense, and just having a great time, actually. And so I made my contribution. I earned my letter, and it taught me something very important, and that is that we have to pay attention to who we pay attention to, because not everybody's given us the best advice in the world. It's not out of malintent. The surgeon who was telling me game over thought so. He wasn't, making that up. He believed that, and he's the guy that put my foot back together again. And but I'll tell you something else. And I gave a talk actually at Notre Dame on this some time ago, a speech, and it was how one book, one chapter, and one man changed my life forever. Because while I was in the hospital, my grandfather, my mother's father, bought me a book and sent it. And I didn't really like reading books at that time, but what else was I going to do in the hospital at this time? There's no YouTube, there's no Google, there's no, cell phones. It's like you're sitting there. If anything, you turn on a TV and you have 3 channels, and none of them are very much fun. I'm not going to watch soap operas while I'm sitting there or whatever. So I started flipping through this book, and the book was by Clifford, Frank Gifford. And one of the chapters was on Rocky Bleier. Rocky Bleier went on to win 4 Super Bowls with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But before that, and after graduating from Notre Dame, he was in Vietnam in the war, and had his foot blown apart, and shrapnel, and gun fire in his hamstring. He was damn near dead, actually. And multiple surgeries, and the doctors are like, your football career is over. Forget about it. And Rocky said, no, I don't believe that. I believed something different. So this is mindset. This is mindset. You make up your mind to do something and you're all in. Let me tell you something. You can do amazing things when you get past fear, because fear is just going to hold you up. And that doubt is going to work against you. And then one day you live with serious regret. Like, man, I should have, I could have, I would have. That's just no way to live. If you ask me, life isn't true life if you're living in fear. So we've got to get beyond that. And again, going back to my early programming as a child, I was trained to be afraid, and as most of us are. So I had to figure out, well, how do I get through that? How do I get through the fear? So by walking onto the Notre Dame football team, one of the scariest moments in my life, I proved something to myself that, you know what, I can do mind over matter. So the one book was by Frank Gifford on courage. The one chapter was about Rocky Bleier. If he can do this, maybe I can too. But the one man, people were surprised when I said this. They thought it'd be Rocky Bleier, and actually it was no. It was my grandfather. My grandfather. Why? Because he gave me the book. And a gift can be that simple to somebody. You give somebody a link to this podcast. You give a book to somebody. You give something that's going to help them improve their lives, accelerate their performance, which is what Fuel is all about. And it can be game-changing, life-changing. In my case, it certainly was, because I'm not sure, maybe I would have believed the surgeon if I hadn't read that chapter about Rocky Bleier. Funny story is, later on, as I'm progressing through my career, I'm writing books and things like that. I wrote a book called Reinvent Yourself, and a lesson in personal leadership. And I was touring and speaking, and I ended up on stage with Rocky Bleier, and Zig Ziglar was on the same stage. It was a big event, a couple thousand people, and I'd never met Rocky before, but I told him that story and how he inspired me. And he said, you got to do the introduction for me. If you would, I'd be honored if you just tell that little story. Because in our line of work, we might be inspiring thousands, maybe millions of people and never know it. Specific examples like that. So for Rocky to hear that was quite impressive. So now I graduate from Notre Dame, and incidentally, I didn't go into Notre Dame on a full ride scholarship. I got some help later on when I was on the team, but it was academic, and that was scary because it's the only college I applied to. My mother was like, "What are you thinking?" I said, "No, I'm going to Notre Dame," and there you have it. So I graduate, and now I'm in Chicago, wearing a suit and tie with a finance degree from Notre Dame, and working for the world's largest printing company, and in their corporate finance group. And I have to tell you something, after a year, I was bored. I was miserable. I was so bored. I started doubting myself again, that wow, I picked the wrong major. I don't even like this. Um, I'm an entrepreneur. What am I doing wearing a suit and tie and sitting in a corporate headquarters and crunching numbers? Why did I sign up for that? So after a couple of years with this company, I decided, took some courage to say, you know what, I'm going to start all over again. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to change careers, change jobs, change change specialties from finance to get into employee relations and human resources, more people stuff, and changed cities, changed industries, changed states, and threw in a marriage just to go along with it. So major change when I was 26 years old. Or no, excuse me, I was 22 years old. And now I'm basically reinventing myself, starting all over again in a sense. And well, that worked out for 2 years, and then the company was purchased, acquired by a big French international, and then I was actually promoted to the head of human resources. But after a couple of years, I decided to leave, and I started my own company. So this is now 38 years ago. I started Venture Management Consultants with an entirely different business model. My vision was not to have a building with my name on it, a bunch of consultants working for me. I wanted the freedom to live my life the way I wanted to. I have four beautiful children, three grandchildren now. I didn't want to work 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week. I wanted my work to be play. I wanted to just have fun. I didn't want to work. I wanted to play and explore and help people around the world. So I basically wrote my own job description. Incidentally, when I started at 28 years old, started this company with two other partners and investors, they both left within 6 months, just said, this is never going to work. I rewrote the business plan and pivoted, and I've been pivoting ever since. And built the company to what it is today, which is a network of world-class consultants, authors, experts that I pull in on as needed. So essentially, I run a very lean business. I teach lean and Lean Six Sigma, operational excellence, and I walk the talk. I run the business very lean. It starts with the client and the client's needs, the client's interests. What is it the client wants? And then I pull in the resources to deliver. And because we do that so well, uh, I don't make sales calls. I haven't made a sales call in over 30 years because people call me. Another paradigm shift. I didn't like making sales calls. And so instead of me calling, cold calling, me calling customers, I'm thinking, how do I flip that on its head and get them to call me? Because selling at 28, 29, 30 years old wasn't working. And my partners were looking like they were right. This is just not going to work. So to be creative a little bit, I said, I've observed that these law firms and insurance companies and realtors and things like that, they hold free seminars and they bring people in and they give them value. They teach them something. They help them with the law. They help them with investments. They help them with different strategies. Why don't I do that? Why don't I offer a workshop, bring people in, and teach team building, and teach leadership and strategy, and teach operational excellence? Why don't I do that? And they'll come in, and if I'm any good, maybe they'll hire me to come on site and educate their people. And that is exactly what happened. My very first workshop, I got two clients out of it. One was a bank that said, do you need any money? We can loan you some money. Took their whole executive team, the president, CEO, and the executive team through a 2-day workshop. And the other company, which went on to win Michigan Manufacturer of the Year 3 years in a row, brought me in and to teach what I was teaching. And it just took off from there. So it went from a local little seminar workshop to statewide, doing it over in Detroit, other parts of Michigan, to regional, Chicago, Indianapolis, Cleveland, places like that, Midwest, to national. And this workshop attracted people from the government, from the CIA, the Navy, multiple, multi-international billion-dollar corporations. And for the last 30 8 years, that's what I've been doing, getting out and teaching in places like Argentina, Brazil, China. That's just the A, B, and C. And doing Kaizen events, rapid improvement events, teaching Six Sigma and Lean, and just traveling the world, different cultures, different languages, taking my children and my wife at the time with me all over the country. And well, how did I get there? And like John Maxwell said, if you want to do what I do, you got to do what I did. And the did part means you've got to have courage. You've got to really have a strong vision that's compelling, a strong belief that you can get there. You might have to take some side roads from time to time. You have to pivot, which of course makes it exciting. It makes it exciting. And every time we fall down, every time we make a mistake, and I've made many, we learn and we grow wiser. Take books, for example. I never really imagined initially that I was going to write 20 books. But when I saw Tom Peters speak that day, and he had a best-selling book out called In Search of Excellence, I said, if I'm really going to make it big as a consultant, I guess I have to write a book. That's what people told me. So I read a book about how to write a book. There again, this is before the internet. This is before all of the gadgets, AI, things like that we have now. It's before all of that. Read a book about how to write a book, applied it. It's another huge takeaway. You can't just think it. You got to do it. You got to do the did, to quote John. So now I write a book, and then I get advised, you should write an allegory. What's an allegory? And it's a story. It's like a novel where you're teaching how to pull a team together, how to change a corporate culture through characters. So it can be very relatable. So I write Agent of Change, Leading a Cultural Revolution. It picks up endorsements from billionaires, Ambassador to Italy, best-selling authors, Ken Blanchard, One Minute Manager, athletes, professional athletes, military generals, a couple of military generals. This book gets a lot of attention, and it's the first allegory I ever wrote. And then a university professor, a friend of mine, says to me, you got to write the sequel to that, John. I mean, you set up perfectly for a sequel. I'm like, it is? So guess what? I wrote the sequel, which was Reinvent Yourself, a lesson in personal leadership. And that puts me on stage with people like Tony Robbins, General Norman Schwarzkopf, Stormin Norman, Dennis Waitley, The Psychology of Winning, Jim Rohn, who was Tony Robbins' mentor for years, Zig Ziglar, Rocky Bleier. So now all of a sudden, I'm in the mix. And fast forward, now I'm in the mix with some phenomenal faculty members here with Fuel. And I'm bringing on some pretty awesome guests. Last week was the infamous best-selling author and founder of Yes to Success, Deborah Poneman. And the week before that, I had Gary Garfield, the former CEO and president of Bridgestone America, a $10 billion company with 55,000 employees. Mark Tabbitt before that, who lost everything in the Pacific Palisades fire. Renee Godefroy, who grew up in Haiti, no electricity, no plumbing, and now is on a world stage speaking, pursuing his dreams. Many other gifts, Jim Cathcart, Brian Biro. Brian's coming up again in another couple of weeks. So bringing people to you through this platform is just another pivot. I didn't know what a podcast was 20 years ago. I couldn't imagine teaching people around the world without leaving my office. Back in those days, it was get on a plane and you fly to Portugal to do a show, or you to do a Kaizen event, things like that. So my journey through fear with courage was to just do exactly that. It starts with a vision, and you can refine that vision as you go. It starts then with a sincere belief you can do it. I'd like to call it all in. An example of all in is when I got started, I had very little money and very little savings. My wife was pregnant with our second child, and I took a home equity loan out on the house, and I bought a duplex. What? I bought a duplex in case I lose the house. Now we have a place to live and we can subsidize it with somebody living on the other half of the house. Meanwhile, I'll fill up both sides of the house, generate some cash flow, and hopefully some appreciation with the duplex, and it'll help me fuel my business. So things like that. And I teach FMEA, failure mode and effect analysis. So being fearless doesn't mean being stupid or careless. FMEA says what could go wrong if you do this? How serious would that be? How likely is that to happen? And what can you do to make sure it doesn't? It's a simple FMEA. It's in one of my courses on fuel. So what could go wrong? I could lose my house. What could I do about that? Have an alternative. Always have an alternative. So that it relieves the fear just a little bit. The other thing is preparation. Whether it's you're getting ready to give a speech, you're ready to host a podcast, you're ready to go into a job interview, you're ready to take an exam, whatever it is you're doing, prepare. Athletes are preparing their entire lives. They never get to that point where they go, I don't need to practice anymore. I don't need a coach. I don't need a trainer. No, you always do. You always do. Why wouldn't you have a trainer and a coach and somebody, a mentor, somebody who can help you along the way? We do nothing alone. If there's anything I've learned over these years is you writing a book, you don't do that alone. You get ideas from people. You have editors, you have people, copywriters, and people help you with it. It's always a team behind any great success story, always. So network with great people. This is exactly what I did to make my way. I want to be as smart as I can be. How do I do that? I read people's books who are smart people's books. I go to conferences. I take notes. I listen. I watch podcasts. Okay. I'm hungry for knowledge so that I can grow and I can help other people grow. I think of myself as like a channel. All right. And the more I can bring in, all right, the more I can deliver, like a giant channel. All right. And that's exactly what I encourage everyone to do is you've got gifts, you've got abilities, you can develop the skills, and you can use those skills in a variety of different ways. So even though I'm no longer in the financial services or financial business with a finance degree, I'm using that knowledge and those skills to do my own financial work and work with financial people in an intelligent way. These other skills we have, we can put together into a nice package and bring value to the market, which brings value to us. So now what? Well, here I am on Fuel with some courses available to the world with an AI bot that now is going to help me reach more people. And I want to summarize everything with this. 7 factors to pay attention to. And the exercise I encourage people to do is with these 7 factors is a visualization exercise. Okay. Aristotle once said the soul never sees without a picture. The soul never sees without a picture. So what is it you see that's innate in you? And in my case, those 7 factors, the first one, and not in any particular order, is physical. What do you see, not right now, but 5 years out, physically for yourself? What do you see? Make it very clear. Pick a target weight, a target belt size, a target look about you. Visualize that and make it as specific and clear as possible. That's the direction you're going. Doesn't matter what you look like now, where you're starting from. If your vision is on the current state, then you're unlikely to change. You've got to have a clear picture of the direction you're going. So now you get on a treadmill, you take a walk, you go swimming in a pool, whatever it is you're doing. You're not telling yourself, I'm fat, I'm getting old, I'm losing it. No, you're on your way to the picture you've painted. You're on your way to that picture. The next one's mentally. Mentally, what are you doing 5 years from now? How sharp are you? How smart are you? How emotionally intelligent are you? How aware are you? And this ties into the third one, emotionally. How do you feel? So what's your picture? In my case, my picture was I want to offer brilliant advice to the world. So what can I do daily to move in that direction? Well, I can read. I can pay attention to who I pay attention to. And so instead of paying attention to complainers and whiners and commiserators and negativity, I don't even watch the news. I haven't watched the news in years unless there's some major thing happening like a hurricane here in Florida or something. But I pay attention to really bright people. And it's like a sponge. Emotionally, how do you feel 5 years from now? What do you feel like? Are you absolutely full of joy? Are you full of inner peace, poise, and confidence? Relaxed? Life is good? Is that how you feel 5 years from now? Or are you still freaking out? Are you still afraid, full of doubt, full of worry, full of stress? Because one of the things I teach, as you know, is that fear is an illusion. It's a projection that something's going to go wrong. Why are you thinking that way? Why are you thinking that way? You watch a scary movie and you get scared because it's an illusion. In real life, we do the same thing. If we're about to get up and give a speech, or we're about to go into a job interview or whatever, and we're projecting something wrong, of course, it's going to trigger fear. It's going to trigger our hormonal system, the cortisol, the stress hormones, the adrenaline. It's going to trigger the amygdala in the brain, and it's going to basically your fight or flight. And you're going to think it's that thing out there that's scary, that thing out there. And Murphy's going to say, no, it's not. It's what's in your mind that's scaring you. Change your mind and everything else changes with it. So those factors, physically, mentally, emotionally. The next one is professionally. What are you doing 5 years from now? Describe your work. Are you still in the same job? You loving it? Now these interact, of course. If you're in the same job and you've grown and you've moved up, so to speak, and you absolutely love it emotionally, and you're thriving on it mentally, and it's good for your body physically, you're in the sweet spot. So what are you doing professionally? And then what are you doing financially? What's that look like? What's that look like 5 years from now? Be specific. How much money do you have in the bank? Do you have any debt? You paying off all your debt? You pay off your mortgage? You just don't worry about money. You're financially independent. What's that look like? How about socially? Okay, the next one, socially. What are your relationships like? Are you in a dead-end relationship that you might be in today? Are you not in a relationship? Are you lonely? You're afraid. You're never going to find the right mate. Okay, or or the mate you're with is nagging on you all the time. Is that your vision? Change your vision, change your beliefs, change your mind. You change everything. And the last one, spiritually. How connected are you to a higher power? How open are you to the great power and wisdom all around us? How connected are you to spirit, to your soul, and to the souls of the people you interact with? How connected are you? And are you the light of the world? You talk about enlightenment or awakening, salvation, you can call it what you want, but are you bringing light into the world? Do you just light up the room 5 years from now? People look at you and they just go, wow, there's something about you that I feel good when I'm around you. If I'm in a leadership role and I know my employees' visions, I love what Todd Duncan says about this, co-founder of Fuel. If I know what my employees' visions are, and I am truly, genuinely helping them get there, even if it means moving on to another job or company, if that's what they want, and I'm helping them, that's huge. That's real leadership. I always think of this like college sports. Great coaches who continue to win year after year after year are continuously developing their people. Why? Because they know they're going to leave. They're going to graduate sooner or later from college, move into the NBA perhaps, move into the NFL, whatever sport. And so they've got to continue to develop their people, develop their bench, recruit. And in business, that's no different. You need to develop your people, build your team, cultivate teamwork, and move forward in a very positive, enlightened way. My book, Sage Leadership, pulls out a number of these characteristics and highlights them with stories: leading with integrity, leading with vision, leading with power, leading with grace, leading with generosity, leading with intention, leading with attention, leading with love, leading with patience, leading with spirit. It's a deep book. By the way, that book's coming out on audio in just a few weeks, and so follow me on social media and you'll see that. With that, if there's any chat, if anyone's got some chat, I'll take a look at that. And I don't see anything right now, but I will ask you this. If you got value out of this, and you can really think about that exercise with the 7 factors, you can think about what is fear holding me back? Because courage is available to you. It's all in your mind and it's in your heart. Move through the fear, do the did to get to the do, so to speak, and have that ideal life that you want in a holistic way. If you find value in this, I ask you to like it and share it on YouTube. It'll be restreamed. There'll be short clips coming from it as well. You can share those. And on Monday, I'm leading Mindset Matters. So tune into Mindset Matters. It's another fuel production. And I'll be talking about your EGS, your emotional guidance system, and how your emotions help you understand how aligned you are with a higher power, how aligned you are. Because if you're not feeling joy, you're not aligned. If you're not feeling peace, you're not aligned. You are meant to grow, to be happy, to be peaceful. And if you're not, your emotional guidance system is telling you that, and that's where you need to pivot in your own personal life. So Mindset Matters. Next week on Fuel, I've got a great guest, one of the top speakers, Ross Bernstein. You're just going to love this guy. He's just fantastic. Over 2,000 speeches on all 7 continents. He's got a very personal story where he's had to deal with some serious adversity. I'll let him tell that story next week, so tune into that. So with that, I'm John Murphy. Follow me on social media. I hang out on LinkedIn quite a bit. I've got my own YouTube channel. Check that out with a couple hundred, over 300 actually, clips on self-help type things that you can apply. So with that, thank you very much. Appreciate your attendance and your liking and sharing this. And I'll see you, if not on Monday with Mindset Matters, I will see you next Friday on Fearless with Ross Bernstein.